If Israel Hands is deleting you in Windrose, it's not your gear, it's your timing. This boss punishes one mistake, and if you don't understand his attack patterns and how he works, well, you're just simply feeding him kills. So let me show you guys his strategy and exactly how to beat him. Alright, quick note here, I did do this in co-op. I have not tried or attempted the boss solo myself, but it can 100% be done utilizing the same tactic and tricks here down below. So with that being said, the first thing we need to do is we need to prepare ourselves. We need to make sure that we have enough food, enough drink, enough bandages, and enough potions. All right, do not cheap out here. This is one of those fights where you're going to 100% need to utilize potions and make sure you have all of your buffs and everything ready to go. The two items that we crafted and used the most for this fight was the seafood platter. If you guys happen to have that one unlocked from the first boss and have the mats and stuff grinded for that, if not, spend some time getting some fish, you know, grinding out the additional resources from the second biome, making sure that you're crafting up some of those because they give you 20 vitality for 30 minutes, which is huge when it comes to your health. And the second one is coffee for the 20 endurance, which basically again gives you like a really good amount of stamina to allow you to dodge more attacks. And lastly, for preparation, the boar truffle is an absolute god tier item here for this fight. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about or haven't got yourself the combat companion truffle, check out my guide here that you see here on screen. It's 100% worth it. I'm telling you guys, he makes a massive difference when it comes to combat in Windrose, and especially for this boss fight. Next up, let's dive into some weapons, gear, and strategy, all right? We ended up using the Drake's double barrel pistol because it does give you the additional vulnerability perk on the boss, which allows you to do 15% more damage by default. So again, very nice option here. And the second one is the Rapier of 1,000 cuts, which we were maximizing the bleed stacks, all right? So basically you can stack bleed onto a target utilizing this Rapier up to 5 times. It'll have a little duration you can see right below the boss's health. You want to make sure that you keep this up at all times. You don't want it to go away. If it goes away, you got to start over the process of stacking up to 5. But if you hit him again before the official 5 count goes down, you can keep 5 stacks on him the entire time. The passive damage over time with the bleed is what really does a lot of the work here for the fight. As you're running around trying to dodge his attacks and just basically stay alive, that bleed will constantly tick down. But again, make sure you're keeping the 5 stacks up at all times. And one core rule we have that I have said in every one of my tips and tricks videos on my channel for Windrose already, and that is do not get greedy. I cannot stress this enough. Get in there, poke, hit a couple of times, back out, and it's just a slow chip process, that on top of the bleed, to diminish his health for the entire fight. Now, diving directly into the fight, let's talk about his different movesets so you guys can understand what they are like, okay? The first one brings us to the sword combo hit, all right? Like I said, he's got 1, 2, and then I think even a third dash attack on his normal attack. At the end of that, if he does land them consecutively or you're close enough in proximity, he will then proc the AoE like sword swirl attack. All right, you can know this by the glowing red eyes. It'll have a little hesitation. He lifts his kind of sword into the air really quick. Before doing it, you need to dodge out of the way at that moment. He will do like a 360 like spin, you know, like slash attack, and that again will take 3/4 of your health immediately. So you definitely want to make sure you're dodging this one. And now moving on to the next ability, and this could be one of two. The first one could be the Ghost Gunshot, which basically means he kind of turns into a ghost really quick, stands straight up, and then he will fire off a shot towards you or your, you know, whoever you're playing with. At that point, very similar to like the sergeants or the musketeers in the game that you have dealt with in the past, you want to just you want to hesitate for a quick second and then just dodge right at the last moment so that way when he shoots, it doesn't hit you. Again, it does really big damage if he does make contact. It could be a one-shot kill according to how much health and vitality that you have. So just make sure you're careful there. The second one, or the potential second one that it could be, is these skulls leaving the body, right? Which basically he kind of, you know, gets possessed, floats up into the air, the skulls pop up out of his head, and then these little ghost skulls basically come like at you like heat-seeking missiles, okay? They basically will find where you're at and they will aim at you. Your first instinct might be to sprint in one direction to try to avoid them, right? To be faster than the missiles. That doesn't seem to work for me. The best luck that I have had is actually going opposite directions. So the first skull that comes to you, sprint to the right really quick in a short burst, sprint back to the left for a short burst, sprint back to the right for a short burst, and doing that back and forth seems to allow me to get hit less by of the skulls. So I might get hit once or twice, or sometimes I've even gotten hit 0 times according to how the pattern goes. The third one brings us into the dash ability. So right after he does the skull animation leaving his head, he immediately will do a ghost dash at you. Now you can tell this slightly with the redness of the eyes. He kind of crouches down onto the ground really low, looks at his target, and then whoom, does like the dash attack. Now Now, it's important to note you can't outrun the dash, right? Or at least I haven't been able to. That dash will go all the way across the room, and he will be able to hit you if you stay directly in line. What you need to do is you need to, at the last moment, as he starts to dash, immediately dodge, left, right, doesn't matter, but you need to dodge multiple times. So dodge, dodge, dodge into a direction. When you do that, he will then miss you, but with that being said, you don't want to be too far away from him from his dash, because as soon as he dashes past you and misses you, you need to then dash back or sprint back to close the gap, because that would give you like a couple hit window there to get some attacks off. You can hit him at least once or twice. I wouldn't go for a third time and be greedy. I would chip away at his health slowly, maybe stack up the bleed if your bleed has went down on him, but either way, that's going to be a short little attack window there, because he's kind of, trying to get up and, collect his bearings there for 1 to 2 seconds. At that point, again, rinse and repeat the process. You basically just snowball this over and over again. And here's a really important tip for co-op players out there. If you're playing in a cooperative session, whether it's 2 or 4 or up to 8 people, you need to understand if somebody dies that is not in that arena, you can't get back in, right? You can't get back in the arena. If the rest of the party members do kill that boss, you will not get credit if you're not inside that arena. So if one person dies and you don't want to have to fight this boss over and over again to make sure everybody can complete it, the entire party needs to wipe. And I know that sounds sucky. We've been at like 1 health segment before for him, and one of us have died, and we had to then let the other person die off as well to wipe the boss to then completely start all over, so we both got credit for the fight instead of having to fight him a second time. So again, just keep that in mind. Everybody needs to be alive. Everybody needs to be inside the arena. And speaking on staying alive and surviving, that brings us to a couple of pointers here. The first one, bandages, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, can be used, but they are very, very hard to do so on this fight, because there is little downtime where he's not either in your face or hitting you with something ranged, so potions are going to come in clutch here over bandages. And then the second tip that I have for, mitigating aggro, especially for solo players out there, is going to be Truffle. I'm not going to lie to you here, Truffle does not stay alive long, okay? But that's not what he's there for, actually, and he's not there for damage, he's there for mitigation, all right? He basically takes aggro and acts as a tank for you for a short time. Blow your whistle for Truffle, Truffle comes out, the boss will then focus on Truffle. Once Truffle hits him a couple of times, that will then give you a healing window. Again, it's not much, he won't stay alive long, but it is a very easy way or a good way to get some aggro off you, give you some breathing room, get some heals back up so you can get right back into the fight. And lastly, here brings us to the parry master gods out there. If you guys are really good at parrying or blocking or, timing attacks, you can, and I have seen it done by other people, you can parry the boss's attacks. You can eventually stun him too by breaking all of his shields down, which will give you a bigger attack window. Now, me and my partner are not very good at doing the parry. Sometimes we can pull it off, sometimes we can't, so we did not even attempt or try to do that here on this boss, but it can 100% be done. I have seen it done. The fight itself is honestly not about damage output and how much damage you can do on the boss. It's literally about a couple of things, and that comes down to control, making sure that you're understanding the fight and controlling where you are at all times and managing your stamina the best that you can. Do not get greedy, man. It is just all about slowly chipping away at his health. And lastly, that brings us to Truffle. Once again, if you have not checked out my video here unlocking this combat companion, it is amazing and it is a game changer. I promise, not only for this boss fight, but for anything and new content in the game. The swamp area you're going to go to next for the 3rd biome, he makes a huge difference in mitigating damage and keeping you alive. Hey, also, I forgot to tell you, we are so close to hitting 100,000 subscribers. If you guys want to help me achieve that, please hit that subscribe button. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything, and you get notified when I make more Windrose videos, so it's a win-win. See you guys on the next one.